so it doesn't look so difficult when you're working on your own. And I'd also demonstrate for us something very basic so we can understand how these tools work. But firstly, let's understand the concept of workflow automation. So automation, workflow automation is basically the use of some tools or some technologies to execute redundant tasks, to make repetitive tasks or things that are mundane, to make them easy, right? So you make things automatic. So by setting some rules or setting some predefined instructions, that's basically what workflow automation is. So something that you'd have to be doing over and over again or checking for over and over again. Instead of doing it over and over again, you just set a predefined rule and that thing begins to happen automatically. That's basically what workflow automation is. So like I said, today we'll be looking at some tools, a particular tool, two particularly, right? If we have time, we'll look at the second one. So I'll give a case scenario. For example, you own a business or you work you're in a workplace where the people have to fill form, right? And you need to check, or you need to check every day the entries that come in. So you want to track the entries that enter into a particular form, right? Or into your spreadsheet or into your data. Now, one way to do it is you can always, at all times, open your form, your response page to check how many entries have entered. You can do that, but it requires you to automatically or on your own go there and open the form, which can be difficult because you most likely will be busy with other things, right? But then there's another scenario where you set a rule or you use a tool, and that tool helps notify you. As an entry comes in, it tells you, oh, somebody has made an entry, it notifies you. So that's what we're trying to do today. So we're trying to see how we can look at a particular scenario and then apply one of our tools to making a particular job or a particular task easier, or to automate a particular task. So that's what we're going to do today. So like I said, we'll be looking at the Zapier interface, right? So the two tools I was going to introduce today is the Zapier and Make. So I'll start with the Zapier, right? So the Zapier, from my slide, I'll quickly go through my slide before I start the demonstration. So the Zapier interface basically deals with linear automation. So an automation that happens one after the other, step by step. It's usually in strata. So it starts from the top and then it keeps going down. So if one instruction is not executed, the other one will not be executed. So that's basically what the Zapier tool is all about, right? It's a step-by-step automation model, right, that helps you to automate tasks, basically. Then we'll be looking at some of the tools here. If you open the Zapier interface, you're going to be faced with your dashboard. Now, your dashboard has some things. It has the Zaps, we call them Zap. It has where you can create your Zap. It has your task history. It has apps, so connected services that are available for you to use, right? Then, and don't worry, I'll send the slide for this class. Then you have the Zap editor, which is your main workspace, right? This is where your automations are built. Now, the interesting thing about Zapier is that you have two things. You're supposed to be interested in two things. So it consists of trigger and action. That's basically what Zap does. Trigger and action, right? So let me explain using some real life scenario. So let's say you're walking on the road and then somebody sees you and slaps you, right? Person just sees you randomly and slaps you. And then The next thing that's supposed to follow is retaliation, right? So in this case, the slap that the person slapped you is the trigger, right? Or somebody steps on you. Okay, let's put this way. You're walking on the road and then somebody steps on you and then you slap the person. So two things happen there. The person stepped on you and that's the first action. That's the first activity. Then the second activity is that you slapped the person. So if we try to relate it to the Zapier tool, the person stepping on you is the trigger. You slapping the person is the action. So that's basically what the Zapier tool does. It has two things. So it has the trigger and then the action. Now, another interesting thing about it is that always know that you have one trigger. Your trigger is always one, but your actions can be as many as possible. So your actions are the what okay, let me see. Your actions are the outputs, the things you see, the results you see, those are your actions. Like in Zapier. So those things you see are your actions. Then your trigger is like the source, what you feed into the Zapier tool. So that's basically what it's all about. So the moment you're working with the Zapier tool, always bear in mind trigger and action. If you configure your trigger and action very well, then your automation works. So let me continue on my slide before we start our demonstration proper. Right, so we have the trigger block, right? So the trigger block, the way it works is Zapier it listens for new data, right? Like I said, it's like your source. So when you send in that data, it detects that data and then your workflow starts, right? So you have things like app selector, trigger events, account connection, trigger setup. So the way the trigger works is you select the app that you want to create an event with. It can be your Google Forms, it can be Google Sheets, it can be anything, right? It can be your calendar, it can be Slack, as the case may be. Then your trigger event would now be, what do you want to do? Do you want to collect data from that form or from that sheet, or you want to send data there? So that's like the event. Are you listening for data? Are you checking for response? Are you checking for updates? So those are the things you listen for. Then the next thing is to connect an account, right? So if you're working with your Google Drive or your Google Sheets or your Google Forms, you have to connect your Google account. If you're going to be working with Slack, you're going to have to connect your Slack account. If you're going to be working with Trello, if you're going to be working with Notion, you have to connect that particular account, Discord, as the case may be. Then the next thing is for you to now set up your trigger. After setting up your trigger, you test, and then before you publish. We'll see all of these things in action when I begin to show us. Now, the next thing is the action block. So like I said, the action block can be as many as, I don't know, it's plenty. You can have multiple action blocks in a single automation or in a single design or in a single setup, right? So in the action block, you have components like the app selection, action event, and field mapping, right? So app selection is where you select the app you want to use for action. So for example, you want to collect data from a form and then you want to send that data to your Google Drive, or you want to send that data to your email. Normally you would have done these things manually. Okay, collect data, copy, collect data, paste, collect data, send, collect data, update as the case may be. But what it does is your action block chooses the app. So if it's email automation you want to do, it selects Gmail as the app. And then the next thing is it will now select an event. So what event are you trying to do? Do you want to send email? Do you want to delete an email? Do you want to save an email as a draft? All of those things will be there. By the time you're done selecting the event, the action event, you now map it. So in that mapping now, what are you sending as an email? What data are you sending? So you're now going to go back to your form and check the data that you have available in your form or your Google Sheet. Collect that data and send it as an information to the email so that anything the person sees in the email is the same as what they filled in the form or in the Google Sheet. And it's not going to make sense now, but by the time we demonstrate and I start explaining it, it will make a lot of sense. Just trying to quickly show us what our slide is about. Now, field mapping is where a lot of things happen. It's not really too much intelligence there. It's basic things. It's how you process your data, right? How you call your data from one block to another, right? So you're saying you want to say send an email, right? So you have name, and then you have the email body, you have email, and then you have recipient. So you insert the username into an email message, right? And then you map like that particular email field to the recipient's address, right? So the person that will be receiving that email address, you just map their names to that particular email body. It's very simple. By the time we demonstrate, all of it will make sense. Then the next thing is your test step. So when you're done with all of it, when you're done with your setting up your trigger and your actions as many as possible, the next thing is to test. So you run your test by checking a simple validation to check if it works before you publish. Now the last thing is to publish. So when you publish and you turn on, it happens automatically for you. So that's basically what the Zapier tool is all about, right? So now how everything fits together. You have the trigger, you have the actions, you have the field mapping, and then you have the test and publish. That's basically what this Zapier automation tool really does. Now, the interesting thing about this is that before now, before this year, before this 2026, before 2025, before 2022, before 2023, most of these things were done by programmer. So you have to know how to write code, how to write script to do it. I remember in the past where we had a program, an event where people were supposed to register, and when they register, when they fill a Google form, we'll send them, we'll automate email address such that each individual gets a unique response from us, right? And then we'll add them automatically to the WhatsApp group. Then I remember I had to write a Python script for it to automate that tool, or to automate that event, right? So I had to write a Python script, and then I embedded it on the Google Forms. But with this tool, you don't need that. You don't need to write, as they know, if you don't know how to write codes, you're not a programmer, you can automate your task, your email address. So we're going to do something very interesting now, and I hope we're ready for it as we begin. All right. So like I said, we'll be using the Zapier tool. Now, the first thing we'll do is for us to visit the tool, right? So hold on a second, let me share my screen. Okay, a second. Okay, all right. So this is what it looks like. I want to be sure that we're seeing my screen. All right, okay. So I always recommend, most times because some software companies, some tools, some websites share the same domain name. So most times you type zapier.com and then it will redirect you to another domain name. So I always recommend if you know the name of the thing you're working with, just search it on Google. By the time you see your result, your query, your result, you know what the link you're going for. So by the time you search for Zapier on Google, you're going to see something like this. So by default, this is what we're looking for. This here is what we're looking for, right? So I'm going to go to zapier.com. All right, so this is what we're looking for. So like I said, as usual, when you have tools like this, they most times require you to um create an account. They always require you to create an account. So it's best to create an account. Now, most tools integrate with Google account. So it's best to just sign up with Google instead of having to use your email address and going through all of that, creating a password that you most likely will forget, all of that. So you just sign up with your Google account, right? So we're going to sign up with our Google account. And by the way, I recommend using a PC for this. It works. It's better that way, right? So sign up with Google. By the time you click sign up with Google, I choose my account and then I click continue. So all of these are just basic stuff that we just do to create an account. Okay, so now that we've gone to these two, we just do the, I don't know, the some fundamentals, kind of like a survey. So they want to personalize our experience, which is very unnecessary, but would continue. What's your role? It's okay. Depending on what you choose, IT, choose IT. What's your company size? I don't know, 1,000 to 4,999. Your job level, I don't know, manager. Then so you can select the tools, the apps. When I say when I talked about apps, these are things you can automate with Zapier. You can automate Google Drive, Discord, WhatsApp notifications, Gmail, Google Sheets, Slack, Google Calendar, Notion, Google Forms, plenty, as many as possible. Right, but we'll skip this for now. We'll do this much later. So I'm going to skip this. And then we're now in our home page. We're now in our home page. All right, so let's give it some time so that it will open up. Okay, I can see somebody's hand is up. What will happen is when I'll give in a few minutes, I'll give us time to ask questions based on what I've done so far. I'll just quickly show us the interface, what you're looking at. So you have here your profile, right? To explore apps, to choose the apps and integrations you want, right? Then, but what I'm mostly concerned about is here, this sidebar. Sidebar is very important. So in this sidebar, we have the create, we have the home page. So we're already in our home page, we're already on our home page. And then we have assets. These are like some things you can, add-ons you can use. Then we have templates, some already existing workflows that have already been automated. All you have to do is to edit them. We have app connections, and then we have Zap history. So what is most important for us today is the this create and the Zap history, right? So if you click on create, you're going to see what we're talking about. So, like I said today, we are creating Zaps. So when you're automating anything, just know that you're creating a Zap. So because we want to automate workflows. So I'll give okay, Mr. Redran, your hand is up. Just ask a question quickly. No question. Okay, all right. I'll proceed. All right. So you have these. So what we're mostly interested in is this create. We want to create, we want to automate a workflow. So it means we're creating a Zap. That's what it means. You're creating a Zap, right? So I'm going to do this. I'm going to create, click on create. When you click on create, you click on Zaps. This is what is very important. Click on Zaps. So if I click on Zaps, it takes me to an editor. Takes me to an editor, right? So now this is where it gets very interesting. Now in this editor, you have the trigger and the action. All of these things are things you'd have written as codes or scripts, but everything is just drag and drop, click and select. So you have trigger and action, just like what I explained earlier. So before I continue, we're going to give ourselves a simple scenario. Now that scenario is we work, let's say we work in a school, right? And we want to collect data from students, right? Yeah, from students, as the case may be. We want to collect data, right? So now this data that students are going to be filling this information, right? Now, as they're filling the information, we want to be getting notifications that, so if a student fills an information, we want to be notified that, oh, this student has filled this information and this is the information that the student filled. And then we want to store that information on our Google Drive so that each student has a unique information. So that's what we want to do. So we want to collect data from students. We want to get notification, automated notification when each student fills the form, and then we want that form to be saved automatically, that information to be saved automatically on our Google Drive. So that's what we're going to do now. So just follow me as we start from the very basics. So what we're going to do is we're going to create a Google form. So you're going to follow me. We're going to create a simple Google form. When we create the Google form, we're going to automate that Google form and then would apply that Google form to this Zapier tool, and then we'll see how it works. So it's going to be like a collaboration thing, right? So you fill the form and then you see it work in real time. All right. So I'm going to start now with the Google form. So whilst this one is, my screen is up, I'm going to quickly create the and by the way, how many of us know about Google Forms? How many people can work with Google Forms? I just need to know if anybody has not worked with Google Forms before, if not the Google Form before. Okay, so I don't have to. Okay, all right. So whilst this, so okay, well, some people have not created Google Forms before. Okay, interesting. So I'll just quickly show you a simple Google Form, right? Okay, let me show my entire screen so that. All right. Okay. So I'll go to a new tab, right? And then I'll go to my app. So if you're using your browser, you'll see something like this, your favorites in your apps, and then you see forms, or you can search for Google Forms on Google, and then to take you to the form link. So I'll click on forms. So it will open. Yeah. So it will open, right? You're going to see a page like this. A page like this. Then what we want to do is we want to create a blank form. So we want to create a new form. So you're going to create a blank form, click on blank form. Yeah, okay. So the form is open. Okay. Okay, so when the form opens, you're going to see something like this. There's so much you can do here, right? There's so much you can do. Here is the title, your form header, where you can add images, themes, change the color as the case may be, right? And then this is where you add your question. So here, this plus sign here means add question. So I said we are going to be creating a form that takes entry from students, right? So let's say those entries are things like their full name, their email address, the course that they are going for, and uh, maybe a feedback message. So let's quickly do that. So let's call this form response form, right? So I'm going to call it response form. So we're not going to add a form description. So let's start with the first question. The first question is their full name. So let's say full name. Right. On that full name, short answer. So this is where you set the form, the kind of response you want. If it's something you want them to write long, give you long information, you select paragraph. If the one you want them to choose multiple choice, this is the checkboxes here, drop down here, file upload here, as the case may be. If you're working on a link card system, then you use linear scale, as the case may be, or multiple choice grid, or checkbox grid, as the case may be. So for full name, it's not really going to be too long, so we'll leave it as short answer. When we're done, we'll click this plus sign, and then we select email. Let's leave it as email, and then the short answer, we select the next one, and then we have the course that you've chosen. I don't know if you check the message. If you can't see my screen, maybe it's network from your end, but I'm sure my screen is up and running. If you're finding it difficult to see my screen, you can refresh, exit the meeting and rejoin, or I don't know, change your location or change your network. Thank you. All right, so we choose the course. I will leave it as multiple choice. Let's leave it as multiple choice. And then we're going to select the courses involved. So let's say productivity tools, and then we'll add another one. Let's call it the UI UX, and let's add the last one. Let's call it coding. Okay. All right. Then the last one is a feedback message. So let's just call it message. And then let's make it long as a paragraph. It's going to be message. And that's it. So that's what we have, right? I don't want too much plenty things. So there's no description. We don't want to edit it. If you want to edit your form, make it fine. There's this top menu bar here where you have customized theme. You can change the color, the font style, and all of that. We're not doing that today. All right. So we've created this form. Now the next thing is for us to publish. So for your form to be, for your form to work, you should publish the form, right? So we're going to publish this form. And then, so anybody will link will just be a responder. So we're going to publish this form, and this is the form link. So you can shorten this URL. We're going to copy this form link. So we've created a simple form, right? Okay, so I can see somebody's hand is up. Ask your question.
So I also after the course, what's the next thing that you
After
creating the
the
form? After the course, what's the next thing in the
okay,
form?
so after course, message, like feedback message. Got it? All right, thank you. So we can continue. All right, so now that we've created this form, we're going to be sending in responses. So now this is where we would work together, like me and you guys would work together. So I cannot fill my own form, right? So I'm going to have you fill the form for me. So like I said, I'm going to drop the form link on the income message. I don't, for now, we're not, I don't need too many responses. I just need uh, maybe two people to fill the form, just to maximum, right? And then we'll see if we're getting responses. So this is the form link sent. So there's just one or two. If one person or two persons fill the form, just send in a reaction so I can continue. Okay, so whilst we're filling the form, okay, I've gotten one response. So you can see that there's a there's a response here. Okay, two. Please, for now, nobody should fill the form so that it doesn't get to, okay, it's getting too much. It's okay. For now, nobody should fill the form. I'll tell you when to fill the form, please. Thank you. All right, so we have three responses here, right? So, okay, it's getting serious. All right, so we have four. Let's hold on a bit. Chill. We'll fill the form later, not now. So we have five responses. So I'm going to link this form to a Google Sheet.
Sorry,
I'll tell
sir.
you.
I think you can. Sorry, sir. I think you can stop the response receiving. Sorry,
Yeah,
sir.
yeah, yeah. So I'm going to link this to a Google Sheet, right? Now, let me continue. So when you link this to a Google Sheet, it says create new spreadsheet. So I'm going to create a new spreadsheet. I'll click on create. All right. So we have response form, like in bracket responses. Okay. That's what we have. So we've got what we're looking for. Now, so I'm going to quickly explain we why we use this use the Google Sheets. Now, Zapier has a bit of an issue, right? It's sometimes it's unstable if you're working directly with Google Forms. So it can be messy most times, right? So it can be messy. So it's always best, like best practice is for you to link it to your Google Sheet for easy automation. So it works better that way. Right. So now that we've created, one second, let me share my entire screen so that I won't be hovering about one tab to another. Okay, I think we can see my screen, right? Okay. All right. So now let's go back to Zapier. So we've created a simple Google Forms and we've connected it to our Google Sheet. So like I said, the first thing we're going to do is to create our trigger. Very important. That's the first thing, our trigger. So when you come to this Zapier interface and you click on the plus sign that I showed us earlier, and then click on create Zaps, it takes you to this interface here where you have two things, trigger and action. So in our trigger, I'm going to click on the trigger. If I click on the trigger, it shows me all the possible apps I can use for my trigger. But in this case, so I'm going to be using Google Sheets. So I'm going to say I'm going to use, let me call Google Sheets. So see Google Sheets here. I'm going to click on Google Sheets. Yeah. So yeah. So now I'm getting a pop-up here. Remember I told us that By the time you try to create your trigger, you have to select your app first. Then the next thing is your trigger event, right? So your trigger event, by the time I click on trigger event, it will now tell me it now asks for what I'm trying to do. So in this case, now I'll select this new or updated spreadsheet row. What it means is that if there's a new entry in my spreadsheet, if there's a new entry in my spreadsheet or in my form, it should now send it to the action. That's basically what I did. So I'm going to select new um, or updated spreadsheet row. Now, if you're working with shared, like here now, if you're working with shared drive, like if you're working as a team, you can select new updated spreadsheet row, team drive, right? New spreadsheet is when you're creating a new um, sheet altogether. But with this one, we've already created our form and we've linked it to our Google Sheet, right? So now we're clicking on a new or updated spreadsheet row, right? Um, so we can choose this. Okay, let's choose new spreadsheet row, because the difference is here it triggers when a new row is added or modified in the spreadsheet. Here it says triggers when a new row is added to the bottom of the spreadsheet. So let's choose this because we want to be entering the informations sequentially, right? So the trigger event will be new spreadsheet row. Now connect the account. So which account are we reading this data from? So it's going to be my Google account because that's the account that the Google Sheet and the Google Forms are connected to, right? So I'm going to click on connect an account, and then it would automatically redirect me to choose my Google account. The network is a bit slow. Um, let's just give it some time. Okay, so it allows Zapier to access your Google Sheet account. So I'm going to say yes, continue. Right, so it's going to direct me to using my Google account. I'll do the needful. I'll select my Google account, then click on continue. And then if there are special permissions you need to grant to Zapier, you should also do that. So I'm going to grant the permissions. Right, so I'm going to continue. All right, so I've connected my account. Right, so my account is now connected here. Right, so you can see it here, victor@digitalglobally.com. So I'm going to continue. If I click on continue, it takes me to configuration. This is where I configure my data. I configure what really happens, or I configure what is being sent to the actions. So in my spreadsheet, I'm going to select um the one that is linked to my form. So I'm going to see when I click on select, because that account has already been connected, you will see that it's showing me form response from responses. If I go to my spreadsheet, you see the title of this sheet here is called response from responses. So if you have a form that is named differently, you also see it here. Right. Okay, so I'm going to select that response from responses, and I'm going to select my worksheet. My worksheet is see it here, form responses, right? So if I cancel this, this is where you have your worksheet. So the name of my worksheet is form responses 1, and Zapier automatically detects that I have something called form responses 1. I'm going to select that, and then I'll click on continue. Right. So that is we're done with that. So I can let's just run a simple test. Test the trigger to tell us if what we have is correct or not. Okay, so we have spreadsheet row A, B, C, right? So we have some records that have been added. You can see the timestamp. It was added today. Right? So it means we're correct or we're in order. If something was wrong, it would have told us. So now we'll continue to select a record. So let's continue. So we'll now continue with our selection record. Now the next thing is for us to go to our actions. So we're done with our trigger, meaning that we've sent in our data, we've sent in our inputs. Now the next thing is for us to add our actions. So like I said, we want to fill a form, but now we want to automate it such that if an entry is sent, we'll receive an email. If it will receive an email and then it will be stored in Google Drive, right? That's what we want to do. So those are two actions. So it means that we have one trigger and two actions: automated email and automated Google Drive upload. So I'm going to click on actions. And now the first thing is, what does it do first? It first of all sends us an email, right? First of all sends us an email. Okay, so I'm going to click on Gmail, right? Exactly. So we want to receive an email from the when they upload the form, we want to receive. So the next thing is for us to click on action event. So what are we expecting? We want to send email. Send email. That's what we're looking for. Send email. Right. So we're going to click on send email. That's the action. So we'll now connect the account that we want to be receiving that email. I'm going to click on sign in. Sign in. So we're going to continue to Gmail. And then we'll select our account. We'll continue. So we'll do the necessary, give Zapier the necessary permissions that it needs. So I'm going to select all of these permissions so that I can make changes to our email. And then the account has been added. Right. So the account has been added. So we'll now continue. Right. Okay. So now the next thing is for us to do some configurations. Right. So now where are we sending that email to? So we use my email address. So I'm going to use this. Sorry, let me use the one I already have to add. Link.com. Hope that is the correct one. Hold on a bit. Okay. All right. So I'm going to select this email. I don't, since I'm not copying anybody, it's just me. So the next thing is the subject. All of this is not really necessary. So the subject is let's call it new student response. New student response, right? And then the body of the email will be just plain text. And then what would the body be? Now this is where it gets very interesting. This is where mapping works. So anything here should be what exists in the Google Sheet, right? Should be what exists in the Google Sheet. So I'm going to start with the name. So we have the name. We have name. And that name, we're going to call the full name, right? And then we have the email. We're going to call email. This is how you map. We're going to do the course, and then you map by. So if you did not get me, when you want to map, you use the forward slash, or you press this plus button here. This is how you map. So when you map, it shows you all the possible entries that exist. So for course, we have course here, and then the next thing is message. Message, we have message here, right? Okay. So now that we've done that, the next thing is for us to, all of these are not really necessary. We don't need to add any attachment for now. So now where would this email go to? So it should go to inbox, and let's leave it as just inbox. And you should also go to chats. Let's leave it at inbox and chat. So that those are the possible places where you can see the email. And I'm going to click on continue. Right. So the next thing is for us to test. So I'm going to run a simple test with the data that we already have. Right. So if I do test this step, okay. So I'm going to open my email. Whilst the email is opening, you're going to see this information here. New student response. So it's taking time to load. Okay, so it has opened. So you can see that that entry is here. You have name. So this person filled the form, but they did not put any messages. So we are getting it now. So that's the first action that we've created. We've created the email action, right? Now the next is for us to add another action by pressing this plus sign. If you press this plus sign, you are going to add another action. And that action is saving the file in Google Drive. So I'm going to select the app that I want, Google Drive. Google Drive here. And then I'm going to set it by selecting. So what event do we want to do? So it means we want to save the file, we want to add the file. So what it means is that we're going to say create file from text. That's one thing we can do, or we can just click on creating file. So let's look for create file. Upload file, find file, okay, create. Let's just create file from plain text, right? So let's click on create file from plain text. Okay, and then we'll add an account. Okay, so we'll add this account to this Google account. Okay.
Just pause.
We'll, we'll grant the necessary permissions, and then Well, good. So we've added the account. Now the next thing is for us to configure our drive. Second. The next thing is for us to configure.
Mm, mm.
I hope you can see my screen.
You, it would.
Okay. So the next is for us to configure our drive. So you're going to click on continue here. When you click on continue, to take you to configure, and then you choose the drive. So when I click on drive, it shows my Google Drive, right? I just want to save it in my Google Drive. Then I want to select a folder in my Google Drive where I want to save it. So I have a folder called productivity tools already existing in my Google Drive. So I'm going to save it in this folder called productivity tools, right? Then the file name. Now this is very interesting, right? The file name, what do you want to save the file name as? So I'm going to save the file name as, so like I said, we're going to map it. I'm going to do /, all of your mappings will come out, and then we're going to select from our spreadsheet. Let's use full name, right? And let's map it to, let's call it um, responses dot, let's just say text. Okay, sorry, txt. This is not necessary, but we can just do this, right? Now the file content, what will now be inside that file? Just like what we did in the email, we're going to map everything. So you're going to click on this plus sign, or you're going to select the you're going to press the forward slash, or we select this plus sign, and then we're going to select the informations that we want to store in that Google Drive. So we want to store the full name, the email address, the course, and the message. So I'm going to start with the full name, the email address, the course, and the message. Yeah, so I'm going to quickly format this so it makes a lot of sense. Right, so I'm going to come here. I would say name, right? Then I'll come here. Then I'll call this email, and then I'll call this um let's see, I'll call this uh, course, and then I'll call this let's call this feedback. Sorry, feedback. So let's see, feedback. Right. Okay. So that's how it is. And then convert the document. Yeah. Then we click on continue. And then let's run a simple test with one of the data that we already have, right? So we're going to run a test. So whilst the test is running, I'm going to open my Google Drive. I'm going to open my Google Drive. Okay. Okay, so the drive is open. So we can see. So we've run a test here. So we're expecting a file to be sent or to be uploaded to our Google Drive. So in my Google Drive, in responses, so you're going to see a file called, see the name, the full name, and it's called responses. So if I open this file, I'm going to open this file. Now, by opening this file, you're going to see all of the information that that person has filled in that form, right? So that this is basically what we've done. Now, the next thing is for us to publish. Without publishing, we'll not get the response that we want. So I'm going to do publish. I'll publish this. Okay. All right. So you can see that our Zap has been published, so it's working, it's live. It's connected to our Google Sheets, right? Now this is where we'll test something. Now this is where I want us to test something real quick. So you know that form I sent, I need I'll need 3 more people. That is, if you've not filled the form, don't bother filling. Don't fill. I don't want double responses. I need 3 more people that have not filled the form to fill that form that I sent, the Google Forms that I sent, which is this. Let me copy the link and paste it here. Okay. All right. So I've pasted the form link. So if you've not filled the form, I just need 3 or 4 more people to fill the form, and then we'll proceed. So, okay, if you have a question, go ahead and ask your question.
Yeah, good evening, sir. Sir,
Yeah.
I couldn't find my way again, as in the
Okay. So
first
where?
step under the under the configure. It's brought out
Okay.
under the trigger column. It's brought out select
Okay.
value for trigger column, timestamp, full name, email, course, feedback.
Okay. All right.
I
So
actually
I'll
don't know.
quickly go back and okay, I'll quickly go back and explain that real quick whilst I wait for responses. Okay, okay, I've gotten 7 more responses. Now this is interesting. So now if I go to my if I go to my okay, exactly. So this they are now they've entered. So by the time I come to my email, mm, okay, so that you see the result in real time, what I'm trying to explain. All I just explained what we're trying to do here. Okay, whilst we're waiting for our drive and our email to open, um, okay, let me just quickly explain it. So, like I said, the way the Zapier works is you have trigger and action. Trigger is where your data is collected from, and the action is what really happens after the data is collected, right? So we are looking at a scenario whereby you're collecting students form, and then you are you're collecting students form, and then you want it such that it's automated, that when that form is filled and an entry is sent to your Google Sheets, you get an automated email address, right? On an automated email, and that file is stored in your Google Drive. So that's what we're trying to do here, right? So now we started with our trigger, right? So our trigger is, what are we trying to, where are we collecting our data from? In this case, we are saying, oh, it's a Google form. So we will fill a Google form, and then we connected it to our Google Sheets, right? Now the first thing was, so I'm going to edit this Zap real quick. This. Okay. It. One second. Okay, so now what we're trying to do here, in our trigger, we basically selected what we want. So if I try to edit it, I have the spreadsheet. So I'm collecting this because we already created the spreadsheet, and then the spreadsheet is called response form, right? Response form. So we created something called responses, right? And then there's a worksheet. Our worksheet is called form responses one. So it automatically detects it. And then when you click on continue, it takes you to, after your configuration, it takes you to your test, right? And then you find new record, and then you continue with selected record. Now when you're done, it takes you to the next one, which is the action. So after you have just one trigger. So after your first trigger, the next thing you have are your actions, right? Now your actions, what is the first action? The first action is we want to send automated emails, right? Automated emails. So it means that we're going to select the app. So the app we are selecting here is Gmail, right? So we've selected Gmail, right? And then what are we trying to do? We want to send email. So the action event here is to send email, right? Then we connect our account. So the account that will be receiving the email. So the owner's account, that's what we selected. And then when we click on continue, it takes us to configure, right? So configure. So now in configuration, where are we sending that email to? You select the email. So if you want another person to be receiving those automated email, you can add that particular email here, right? Now the next thing we have is, this is not really necessary, subject. So you choose a subject for the email that you receive. So the subject that we've chosen here is new student response. Then the body is just a plain text. Now in the body, you want to map it to the entries in the Google Sheets. So as new entries are coming, you want to map it to entries in the Google Sheet, right? So if you select this plus sign, it shows you all the possible entries. So we know that when we created our form and our Google Sheet, we had full name, email address, course, and message. So you select the entries, that the ones that apply, and then they show up here. When you're done, you uh these are not necessary. You choose where you want your email to be. Do you want to be in inbox or spam or trash, as the case may be? When you're done, you choose if you want an attachment, right? So then send message to Google Contacts and Google Labels. We don't really want that. So you click on continue. When you click on continue, you click on test. So in test now, we've already run our test. So we click on continue. And then the next thing is our Google Drive. The next thing is our Google Drive setup, which is the third action. So we select Google Drive as our app. The app event, we select create file from text. Then we choose the account. In configure, we select my Google Drive, and then there's a folder I already had in my Google Drive. So you can create a new folder if you want, called productivity tools. And then in that Google Drive, the file will be saved as the person, anybody that fills the form, the file in Google Drive will be saved with their name, their full name. And then we've mapped the content of that information there. And then we're converting it to a document. So each person's entry would be a unique document for them. And then we click on continue. After that, we publish. You publish. By the time you publish, your app will be running continuously. So each time a data is entered on that particular form, you get that automated email. So that's basically what we've done. So now we have all filled this form. I want to show us the magic we've just done. We have all filled the form. Some people have filled the form. So in our form response, what we had previously, hold on, let me open my responses. Ooh, okay. So before we had 5 responses. Okay, but now we have 17 responses. So what it means is that we had 12 more responses, right? 12 more responses. Good. Now, before I told us to fill the form, we had 5 responses before I started the automation. Now, let me go to my email. See what I have. This was the first one we did. Can we see my email? Can you see my email, please?
Yeah.
You can see, send the reaction. Okay, all right. So in my email, we had, this is the first one we did. But now all the entries that all the entries that we had in our forms were sent as automated email. So we have an entry from Priscilla Anthony. We have all of those entries are coming in as a email, as automated emails. We're not the ones sending those emails ourselves. Now, if you go to my Google Drive, you have all of those entries as files in a drive called productivity tools. So in productivity tools, we have all of those entries. So all the responses, so if you fill a form, you have a specific or a unique document in Drive. So that's basically what we've done. So as more people are filling the form and sending in entries, those emails are automated. They'll be coming in as alerts. As those emails are coming in as alerts, the files will be saved automatically in our Google Drive. So that's basically what we've done. So what we've done is we've automated a simple email, a simple form, such that we'll receive automated emails and will automate saving of those entries as files in our Google Drive. So that's what we've done. I know it looks complex, sounds complex, but the thing with Zapier is by the time you practice, then it gets easier. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to run it through again one more time so that we'll see the workflow, what I did from the very beginning. All right. Okay. So I'm going to quickly go back again. Now, I'm not going to go ahead with creating the forms and the sheets. I've done that with. So I'm of the assumption that we've created the form. So you want to collect data, information from students. You want them to fill a form, and you want to be getting email alerts that, oh, there, as new entries are coming in, you're getting email alerts, right? And then you want those entries to be saved in your Google Drive as their information, so that if a student wants to retrieve their data, oh, I need to know the information they filled, you just go to your Google Drive and you see that unique person, okay, the person's full name, and then you have access to that information, right? Right. So now what we want to do, well, the assumption that we've created our form, and we've connected it to our Google Sheets. That one is done. But now we want to automate it. I'm going to run through. Now in automating it, the first thing is for us to open our app, our tool, which is Zapier. So I'm going to start from beginning, right? So I'm going to go to home. So I'm going to go to home. So in home, what you want to do is you want to create a new Zap. Like I said, this sidebar here is very important. So click on create new Zap. See Zaps, click on it, and then it will take you to it's always a bit slow. And then it will take you to a window like this, right? A window like this. And then you have something, an already predefined block called trigger and action. Remember I said the two most important things you're going to be dealing with in workflow automation, especially with tools like Zapier, is trigger and action. Almost all workflow automation tools use trigger and action. So trigger is like your cause, it's like your source, it's like where you're collecting your data from. Now, action is what happens, the expectations, what you're expecting to happen. So our trigger is going to be connected to our Google form or our Google Sheets, while our action will be the automated email response that we want and the automated storage that we want, right? So the first thing is for you to click on trigger. Like I said, you click on trigger and then select Google Sheets. If you click on trigger and select Google Sheets, a pop-up will come out like this. A pop-up will come out, right? So you have three things to do. The three things are you set it up, you configure it, and then you test it for your trigger. So we're going to set up our trigger first. Now, in setting up our trigger, you select the app. We've already done that by when that pop-up that came up and then we selected Google Sheets. Google Sheets is the app that we're using for our trigger. Then the trigger event means what do you want to do? What is that thing that you want to do with that app? What do we want to do? We want to collect new spreadsheet row. So what it means is that we want something to trigger when a new row is added to our spreadsheet. What it means is that if somebody fills the form and then clicks on submit, that data is added as a row in our spreadsheet. That's basically what is going on in the back end. But now we want to use that logic to automate our flow. So we're going to tell Zapier that, oh, no. Always trigger this event when a new spreadsheet row is added. So I'm going to select this. And then I'll choose an account. So if you're using your own computer, you choose your own account, right? And then you click on continue. Now, when you click on continue, it tells you to select the spreadsheet. Like I said, I'm of the assumption that we've created our Google Forms and then we've connected it to our Google Sheets. So when you click on spreadsheet, it will automatically show you the available spreadsheets. So if you have multiple sheets, you choose the one that you want to work with. So in this case, for this particular account, we have just one, and that sheet is called response form. So I'm going to select it, and then it will show here as a response form. I'm going to select the worksheets that we're working with. Now, if you're familiar with Excel, you know that in one workbook or worksheet, you can have multiple sheets. But in this case, we have just one sheet. And our sheet in our workspace is called form responses 1. I'm going to click on form responses 1, and I'm going to click on continue. And that is it. You can decide to test the trigger, you can decide to not test the trigger. But testing it tells you if it's working or not. So I don't want to really do any test, but let's just go with it. Now we are done. We are done with this part. We are done with the trigger. There's nothing left to do. You're not going to see any result. Now, the next thing is for us to deal with our actions. So if I click on action, like I said, we have two actions, the email action and the drive action. So the first one is the email action. I'm going to click on action. I will select the app that I want to use. So what email service am I planning on using? Gmail. So I'll select Gmail app, right? The next thing is to select an action event, just like what we did before, trigger event. Now it's to select an action event. What am I trying to do with the Gmail app? It's basically to send email. So I want to send email from my Google Sheet. So if there's a trigger in the Google Sheet, if there's a new entry, I want an email to be sent to my email address. So I'm going to select the action event and look for where they say send email. So I'm going to send email. And then if the account is not selected, you click here and then add the account you want to do. And then I'll click on continue. If I click on continue, it takes me to configure. And I hope we're following. I'm trying to be move as slow as possible. It takes me to configure. Now in configure, you know all of these things, you're not concerned with all of these things now. What you're concerned about is which email address are you sending the email to? What will be the subject of the email? And what will be the body of the email? So I'm going to select which email address I'm sending. So I can decide to send it to my email address at this. If you have your own email address, you can do that, right? So let's see. Okay, let's do something interesting. Somebody should give me their email address. I need somebody's email address real quick so we can use that one to test. Okay, all right. Okay, let me use the first person I got here. So I'm going to use this email address, right? So I'm going to paste this email address. So the person will, any new response that enters the form, the person will get the email. So I'm going to all of these are not really necessary. You don't need them. You don't need them. Then the next thing is subject. What will be the subject of the email? Let's say new response. Let's call it new response, right? And then the body, it will just be plain text. We don't want it to be HTML tag. Plain text. Now, this is where it gets more interesting. It will not work if you don't map it properly. You have to map your response properly. What it means is that our form, in our Google Sheet or our form, has something called hold on a bit. Our form has something called full name, email, course, and message, right? What it means is that your body should map full name, email, message, and course. And how do you map it? You don't type it manually, you select it. So by mapping, you can either select it using this plus sign or use the forward slash sign, right? So I'm going to work with the forward slash. And so if I press forward slash, I get all the possible mappings that exist. Now let's map it. Now remember that I said in my form, I have full name, email, course, and message. That's what I have. Email, full name, course, and message, right? Now I've mapped them. There's no other thing I need to do. I can decide to say, where should this email be in? Let's leave it as inbox, right? We don't need attachments. And then you click on continue. Click on continue. Now we have a response. So this email will be going to somebody. So I'm going to run a test. And I want Mr. Ridwan with the email gmorid1@gmail.com to confirm if he received an email that has a response from somebody. While I'm waiting for your confirmation, I will continue. And if you've confirmed it, unmute
Not
your
yet.
mic and what?
Not yet, sir.
Or just you receive an email that has a random response. So now that we are done, you can either publish if you're working with just one action of sending email, right? You can publish from here. But we want to perform another action that allows for us to upload that response to Google Drive automatically. So I'm going to click on this plus sign here, which is to add in another step. If I click on it, it will now tell us to add another action. So we want to select the new action. So we'll start with the app that we want. So I'm going to say
Sir,
Google Drive.
received.
What?
Received.
Exactly. So you received an email that has response information, somebody's
New
full name,
response.
email, call. Exactly. So that's what it
Exactly.
does. Yeah. So now that you've received it, we want to add something to the Google Drive, right? We want that response to be sent and saved as a file on a particular folder in our Google Drive. So that's another action. So I can decide to, I will now choose the file, the app, which is Google Drive. Another important thing is the action. What are we trying to do? We want to, you can either choose copy file if that file already exists. But now we want to create a new file, right? Okay, so we're going to create a file from text. So the text that is gotten from that email, we'll create it as a file in our Google Drive. So I'm going to say create file from text. I'll select the account that I'm working with, and then I'll click on continue. Now this account will now be in charge of the drive, the Google Drive, the files. Because I'm using my PC, it's going to be my account. If I was using someone else's PC, I would have used the person's email address or the person's Google account. So now the next thing is for you to select the drive you're working with. I'm working with my Google Drive. I don't have any other drive here, just my Google Drive. Now you select the folder you want that Google Drive to be stored. Now, for now, these are the folders that exist in my current Google Drive. These are the folders, right? I can try to leave it in my home drive folder, but let me put it as productivity tools, right? And then the file name. Now, this is another interesting thing. The file name. What do you want the file to be saved as? So we want is that, okay, each entry would have their full name. So anybody that enters there, clicks the form and submits, their file in the Google Drive will be saved as their full name. So I'm going to map it. I can try to use their email. So I will say, let's say new spreadsheet. Let's use their full name like this. Now, file content. What is now going to be inside that file? So we'll do the same mapping that we did in the email because we want those informations to be inside the file, right? So we're going to map it. We're going to use this plus sign or forward slash, and then we're going to map all of those information. We're going to map full name, we're going to map email, we're going to map course, we're going to map message, right? Course, and then we're going to map message, right? So we want to convert that entry to document. Let's convert it to document, true, and then click continue. And then we can run test. If you run test, you see that we are testing with this name, Blessing Shemila. If I run this test, that file will be saved in my Google Drive. In my Google Drive, I would have something, okay, is a Maxwell Blessing Shemila. I would have it in my Google Drive, right? So now back to this. Now the next thing is for us to publish. I'm going to publish it. Now, by the time I click on publish, any new entry in that form, if somebody enters an entry in that form that we've created, that link I sent on the platform, right? Mr. Ridwan, you're going to get an email, and then I will get the file in my Google Drive. So we're going to do a simple test run so that you see how it works in real time, right? So I want um, two people, that have not filled the form to just quickly fill the form so that we'll see how it works. So that form that I sent, I'll send it again so that so this form here, copy the stick address and then I'll paste it here. So this form here, somebody that has not filled it should just fill it and submit, and then we'll see what happens. So we have 17 responses here. Okay, so I will um, so each time somebody fills the form and clicks on submit, you get an email alert that, oh, there's an entry. By the time you open the email alert, you're going to see the information that was entered in that form. Now that information will be saved in a Google Drive, right? Now, what the demonstration I did, you can see all of the entries, all of the forms, that all of the entries that we all did, the forms that we filled. I get each email alert for each of them. Now in my Google Drive, I get the file. So each person's entry is stored as a document file. So by the time I open this sample file, you're going to see it as a document here. It's taking it. So that's just the way it works. So what this tool we practiced today, basically to automate things that you would have done probably yourself. Imagine people filling forms and then tell you, oh, we filled the form, and then you're updating email responses, or you're individually storing or pushing these files to Google Drive. What Zapier does, it does it automatically. So as more and more entries are coming in, you're getting this email alert. Now, in the message section, you can fill anything you want to fill in the message section. Just put anything. Now, another interesting thing about Zapier is what we've done is kind of like the most basic thing you can do with the Zapier tool, right? There's so much you can do with it. You can connect multiple apps. You can connect to Slack. You can, let's say your Slack channel, you have team members and you people want to, automate your workflow. So you want to send them automated alerts. You can also do that. In this case, instead of connecting your Google Drive, you will be connecting your Slack channel, right? And then you can add filters. Like there's so much you can do with Zapier. You can add filters where you're going to be working with logic. Okay, if this particular email contains so and so name, don't save or don't send, as the case may be, depending on what you want to do. So that's basically what we are covering today: the use of Zapier to automate. What with the example we used is the email automation and the file drive upload automation. So I don't know if there's a question I would like to ask. Any questions? No questions. Okay. All right. So now to iterate and go back to what we've done, we said that Zapier 2 works two ways: the trigger and the action, right? The trigger is okay. Any question? Somebody's hand is up.
So please
I see
remind me
somebody's
what you
hand is
mean by
up.
mapping again. I've forgotten what you said about mapping. Or is it the English that is confusing me?
Okay, okay. Let me use something else. So mapping is what I mean by mapping is in the entry in the form they have something called full name, email, and course and message, right? You want that exact entry to be sent to the email, and you want that exact entry to be saved in your Google Drive. What mapping means is that you want to connect it such that full name is sent as full name to the email, course is sent as course to the email, message is sent as message to the email, email is sent as email to the email. Name, full name is sent as a full name or is saved as a full name to your Google Drive. So what it means is that you're connecting the Google form is like a container, right? The Google Drive is like another container. Then the email is another container, right? So you're trying to connect these three containers together. That is what mapping means. What mapping means is that you're connecting the contents of each of these containers together so that they will match. You want the email address, the content of the email address in the Google Drive to be the same as the email address in the email, and you want to be the same as the email address in your Google Forms on your Google Sheet. That's basically what mapping is. Mapping is just to connect like terms together. Exactly. Because without it, you cannot communicate. So if in my form I have full name, and then when I was setting up the Zapier tool in the actions in email, in that field and in the mapping part where I'm supposed to put the email body, I now go and put something like first name. First name and full name, they are two different things. So you're going to get an error. So if somebody fills in their full name, that entry would not be sent to your email because full name and first name are not the same thing. So mapping basically is something that is here should be the same as what is here. So that's what that tool there really is trying to tell us. I don't know if you understand all of the grammar that I just spoke.
Yes, yes, yes. Well, thank you.
All right, you're welcome. Oh, Mr. Victor Wanko said he followed the steps and it worked. Thank you. That's very good. And I would like your feedback in the group or LinkedIn as the case may be. All right, Mr. Paul, your hand is up. Just go ahead and ask your question.
Okay, good evening, sir. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for the
Good
session, sir.
evening.
So my question is, this Zapier of it too, is it only used for Gmail and for email address and Google Drive, or you can also use it to automate other apps as well?
Okay,
That's
all
my
right. Yeah, thank you for that question. Yes, you can use it to do as many things as possible. And I said that earlier. So let me quickly show us what I mean. So if let me just edit this. Um, so if you select uh instead of if I select apps, Can we see all of the apps? Are you seeing my screen? Can you see my screen? Okay, good. Now you can see that what you can do with Zapier, what you can automate with Zapier is Google Drive, Gmail, Google Sheet, Google Calendar, HubSpot, Notion, Slack, Google Forms, Facebook ads, MailChimp, Stripe, which is your payment gateway, Microsoft Outlook, Typeform, RSS. So if you want to even work, if you have like a blog, a website, and you want to automate, you want to push news feed to your website, you can do that with RSS. You can automate emails, not just Gmail, maybe Yahoo Mail, other email providers. You can do that. You can work with you can work with chatbots, you can work with specific or custom forms. There's like so much you can do, right? So just to answer your question, you can use Zapier to automate anything at all you want to automate. It's just to find your way around it. So the Gmail and the Google Drive is just a basic. I was just trying to show you how it works, what you can do basically. So there's so much you can do with it. All right. Thank you for that question. Do we have any other question? Okay, so sorry, before I take Mr. Ridwan, before I take your questions, so I can see that some people fill the form. So we have 20 responses, and I want you to confirm that you have received emails, like one email or two emails. But meanwhile, ask your question.
Okay, thank you very much. Earlier before creating the Zapier account, I noticed that we have just 14 free days to work on the app.
What? I didn't get you.
Like, before creating the account
Yeah,
on Zapier, I noticed that it's showing it is displaying 14 free days.
it is
It is showing 14 free days to use
mm,
the account earlier before now. So I don't know if
not
after 14 days maybe you have to upgrade, like do a subscription to upgrade it. I don't know.
not entirely. I no sure. I didn't get that. I didn't. No, the thing is, the way it works is, it's not. They're not giving you 14 free days, right, to work. So how most of these tools work is this: they give you credit, right? They give you credit mhm, to work with professional tools. So what it means is that what you're saying is you can use it after 14 days, but there are certain features you cannot uh access, right? So like you have, okay, if you go to your assets now, you have folders, favorites, apps, tables, forms, chatbots, canvases. These are things you access professionally, right? But when it comes to creating basic Zap, like to create a basic automated workflow, that's like the basic thing they use it for. You can do whatever it is you want to do unlimited, right? Now, that 14 days means there are certain features of this app you might not be able to access. See, like right now, you have free access to use it professionally. You use it professionally for anything you want to do. So what I'm trying to say is, after 14 days, you can still use it, right? You can still use it, but there are, I mean, certain features you might not be able to access. Right? If you want to go further, if you want to use it professionally for your business or for large entries or large scale jobs, then you have to get the paid service, right? So
Okay, thank you, sir. And secondly, maybe probably those responses that we got, maybe you want to give a feel like what's like you want to reply those responses. How do we do that? Can Zapier work on that
what?
for us? Maybe we have, like for example, we have a bulky response, and you
Yeah.
want to select some certain set of people to
Oh yes.
reply to the response. Can he do that, and how can we work on that now?
Yeah. So that's the interesting question. Now the problem is that I'm running out, but I'll quickly show you how you can do. So if I go to my Zap history, right? Let me go to my Zap history. So these are the Zaps we've created. Just hold on so that it's open. Now there's a tool called filter. There's a tool called filter. Let me quickly open this. There's the filter tool. Let me edit this real quick. Okay, so I'm going to edit. Okay, all right. Okay, so if okay here now, and then come to my mail, and then I go to my setup. Right, so if I come here, so now there's a filter tool, right? So this filter tool, what it does, I don't know if you're seeing my screen. Yeah. So the filter, oh, did I just no, I think wait, let me create a new. I think I'm opening a different tab. Hold on a bit. Let me open the tab I'm supposed to show you. Okay. Yeah, this is the tab I actually want to show you. So in this tab, right? Can you see what I have here? You can see good. So you can see that Zapier has something called filter, and that filter is found in the apps, right? So if I come here, so this is my Google Sheet, right? Before my actions, right, or in one of my actions, I can decide to add a filter. So in that filter, if I say um setup, in setup now, I can decide to add. If I go to change, I'll choose filter. See this filter here. I'll go to filter and then choose what I want to do. These are the conditions I need to specify. By the time I specify these conditions, so it will now lead me to my action. So my point is, if there's something you want to do, a particular filter you want to create, you after creating your trigger, you set your filter and then you set up your actions. So that's it. Our time is fast spent. We just have 10 minutes. Okay. Any other question? Okay, so now another thing is there's another tool that would look at when next to meet. That one is more, this one is linear automation. That one is more is the non-linear automation. It's even a lot more interesting. Now the thing with these tools is that on opening them or on looking at them, they can appear very tedious or very, I don't know, too much. But they are not really too much. It's just by the time you begin to practice with simple steps and simple exercises, it begins to make sense. So, any other question? Okay, so if there are no questions,
I got additional two response.
okay, so you got an email, right?
Yes, sir.
Exactly. So
Just
that's
two.
how it works. So as more people fill the form, you get those automated emails, right? So that's what Zapier actually is doing for us. So by the time I give us a simple task to do, by the time you practice with the class video and then practice with what we've done, you see that you begins to make sense and everything begins to come in place. If you have any challenge, you always drop your questions on the group and you'll be you'll be attended to. So I don't know if there is any other question. All right. So good evening once again. My name is Victor, your instructor for this course, and let's not forget to give a shout out to the director, the DG of NIDA for this opportunity, and the DG of the DLCB, and the founder of the Bodilon Media Foundation. Right. So we, I'm sure we had a good day. Just take your time to simulate what we've done. The videos will be made available. Usually it takes about 24 hours, right, before our video editor will do most of the job and upload the videos, right? So look, go through the videos, practice as often as possible. If you have specific challenges, we're always there to attend to you. Right. Good evening once again and have a wonderful evening. See you same time on Monday.